Alright, we're looking good for the time being. So I'll go ahead and let everybody know to refresh if necessary. I didn't change my audio, but I'll double check it. I didn't change my... Yep, okay, cool. There we go. Yeah. 30 seconds in and I haven't dropped any frames and it still says that I'm good, so I think we should be okay. If I'm not, then let me know. I think it was a combination of two things. It was, one, that my computer was getting a tiny bit warm, so I, put a little pad underneath it to increase the incline. It's not covering the back fan, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm not that stupid. And then the other thing was I had a different electronic plugged in that I'd forgotten about. So sometimes my old electronics, typically the Wii in particular, for whatever reason, really interferes with when I go streaming. It just drops things like a tank unless it's the only thing being used. If the Wii itself is streaming, no issues. But if it's like the Switch or the Wii U or whatever, it's not a fan. Don't know why. It did give me an excuse to clean my computer screen, though, and it also might have been because I had my computer on for a little while, so that may have done it as well. But we're now a minute and a half in, and I have not dropped any frames, so I'm going to assume that largely we are okay. If it's still doing it, for the record, I keep the actual stream up on my end as well, and I haven't had it doing any cutting out. It was doing that a little bit, not too badly. It was doing it every now and again, but it has not done it thus far, so I'm going to assume if it's fixed on my end that there's at least an okay chance it's fixed on your end. But that being said, let's go back to the Blue Shrine. And by the Blue Shrine, I mean the Blood Moon Shrine that we don't technically have unlocked. So far, so good. Alright, cool. I guess what I could do to make that a little bit easier for me is I could do that. There we go. Because I either keep the OBS window on my forefront, or I keep the... Stop that. Oh, there's Lionel. I'll keep the OBS window on my forefront, or I'll keep the... this is probably a bad idea. Pick it up. You already committed to this. You're going to break it open now. Nope, pick it up. All that for a tiny bit of rock salt. Wow, that was well worth my time. Nope, not interested. Bye-bye, not interested at all. I think it's just because I'm using a Pro Controller, and so if I hit left or right on the D-pad, it does nudge the down on the D-pad, and so if that happens, of course, then the whistle occurs. I know it's down on the D-pad to whistle. I did that earlier on purpose to call my horse, so... It was just being stupid. Speaking of being stupid, I got a bunch of these. Are you coming back, Mr. Bat? No, not interested? Well, I'm not interested in this guy, so... Just get rid of him. Yep, we're good on those. Alright, moving on. Like a Reliant K song, we're pressing on. Man, when did that song come out? That had to have been thousands, right? Like early thousands? I'm pretty sure it was. Now I gotta know. Yep, 2001. Nailed it. Right. Like, I wasn't even thinking, like, when did it come out when I remembered? I'm like, it sounds like an early thousands song. That's literally the first thing that came to me. I'm like, it sounds too much like an early thousands song. It has to be an early thousands song. And sure enough, 2001. That song is 20 years old. Man. What the hell? I mean, to be fair, the GameCube's 20 years old at this point, so... What do I know? Yeah, maybe that'll get you guys to leave me alone. I know it's technically a waste of a shock arrow, but I don't use the shock arrows hardly ever, and we've got 30 of them, so... Not a big deal, honestly. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, since we got that other shrine taken care of, is I'm going to give this a few attempts. If you're going to do this, I recommend being underneath the mushroom-esque things, because if it does rain when you start, then you won't be able to set up the fire if you don't. I'm willing to bet most people already know how to do this, so it's not that big a deal. So you can use flint and wood, or if you have a fire weapon, you can use a fire weapon, or a fire arrow if you prefer. I'm going to use the flint for this first one, and then we'll see how it goes as soon as I can find where it is. There it is. You just chuck them down, have some sort of metal weapon. There you go, fire. So the key is basically to just keep hitting night for this over and over, because the blood moon will always occur at midnight. So there's no reason to go to any other time, as you might as well just go to 9 and wait. And from this point, we're just going to kind of wait and see what happens. It has been a while since we had a blood moon, like at least a little while. So I don't feel like it's going to be too bad, air quotes, but we'll see. Yeah, I remember when it launched as well. That was before I was allowed to play video games because, you know, they were the devil's work, because I live in the Bible Belt, unfortunately. And no, I'm not one of those. Don't worry. I'm about as far away from that as you can get, at least in terms of... never mind. It's not important. But I got into gaming like 2002, 2003, and even though I didn't own any systems, my best friend, still my best friend today, he let me borrow his GBA, and that was when I played Pokemon Silver, and he was playing Gold, and so I had to be like really careful about keeping it hidden in my room because it wasn't mine, the game or the system. And so, like, managed to play Silver just like in really small increments. We're talking like 20 minutes a night because I had to be really, really careful. So I played that, and then when I got to go to his house every now and again, then I could play Mario Kart Double Dash and Melee on the GameCube, because that would have been about 2003. Like, Melee would have just like been out for a little time, and then occasionally we'd play something else. Not usually too often, but occasionally we would play other games. And then I had one other person that I knew that we would be able to play games, but he had like a very strict 30-minute time limit of being able to play video games in a day. With my best friend, there was no such limit, so we could just play for as much as we wanted. So I played a bunch of GameCube stuff. Like, I had played, or we had rented and played a bunch of the GameCube games. But I didn't get a GameCube until after the Wii came out, and I just got the Wii when it came out. It was a Christmas launch of 05 or 06, I don't remember which. It was one of those two. I think it was 06. And I had used my wonderful lawyer advantages in saying, like, my dad was like, yeah, if you make this huge chart of chores and and promise to adhere to it, then you can get the Wii. And I made the chart, and I was like, I promised to adhere to it, so now give me the Wii. Like, I didn't have to like prove it for a week or anything like that, because we always have to do written contracts for stuff, or we did whenever I grew up. Everything had to be in a written contract, and and signed and all that. But because he didn't specify I had to follow it for X amount of time, as long as I had promised to do it and had done it, then I was good, and so I was able to get it like pretty much at launch. And then, of course, that enabled me to play GameCube games that I would slowly pick up and other stuff like that. So it just goes to show you, it's nice to... it sucks in the moment, but once you're older, it helps to have a borderline lawyer father and mother that will force you to prove your worth in doing anything, because then it will also make you very good at being able to manipulate the system. It really was the golden age of gaming, though. Like, at least to me, it feels like it, and that could also be partial nostalgia talk to me. But, like, I also still play Melee, and I play Double Dash, like, at least once a week, and have since the game came, or since I physically had a copy of the game. I've played it at least once a week. And I would say I more so grew up with Gen 3 of Pokemon, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, because that would have, like, 2005, 6 would have been around the point where my best friend, myself, and my brother all had Game Boy Advance at that point SPs, and so we were able to link up and trade in battle, and so I had Sapphire when Ruby and Sapphire came out. I think we all did, and we would go, like, every single day after school. We would walk to Target and walk to Walmart and see if they'd updated their stock, because for whatever reason, we could not find Pokemon Ruby anywhere. Like, we had GameStop, Target, Walmart, Best Buy, and like 2 or 3 other places, and it took us forever to find a copy of Ruby to finally track it down. I think eventually we just convinced someone to, like, essentially go to eBay or whatever it was at the time and buy it online. But it took forever to find a copy of Pokemon Ruby. Did not have near that issue with finding Emerald. Like, Emerald was easy. We didn't pre-order it or anything. Like, Emerald was out, and like a couple days after it was out, we're like, oh right, it launched. We should go check and see if they've got any copies, and had plenty of copies to the first place we went, which probably would have been Target, because that was the closest walk between my friend's house and that store, because it was only like a couple blocks away. It was only ever, of those 3, it was only ever Ruby that we could never find a copy of. Which in retrospect is kind of hilarious, because one of my favorite Pokemon is, well, at least at the time, was an exclusive to Ruby, and I could not use it. And I didn't at the time. It was only like much later I realized how much I liked it as a Pokemon. But for the longest time, was not able to track down a copy of that game. And then I stayed strictly Nintendo for a long time. I would have been Nintendo up until probably about the Wii U, maybe, before I got an Xbox 360, and that's the only non-Nintendo console I've owned, handheld or proper console. And I'd been into PC gaming before that point, so that part of it wasn't too big of a deal. I'm thinking it's probably not going to show up. I don't remember if it has to be a full moon or not, is the thing. It might, but I'm not completely certain about that. But as for PC gaming, oddly enough, as much as video games were the devil back in the day, computer games? No, they're absolutely fine. Could play those, not all I wanted, but like for several hours a day, and wouldn't hear complaining. A fair few of those were edutainment games, so that might have been why. A lot of things from the Learning Company, back when that was, you know, an actual software development company before it got bought out and by Broderbund, like 5 years after I stopped playing the game. But like Clue Finder games, some of the Carmen Sandiego games, Zumbinis, what else was on there? Star Flyers, any of those like edutainment games, those I played all over the place. Played them all the time. And I kind of want to track down some copies of... Whoa, that was a weird shift. Maybe this will be a blood moon because the sky looks way different. I kind of wouldn't mind tracking down a copy of Where in the World or Where in Time, or... There is a third one in that set, because there's a history one, there's an English one, and there's a mathematics one, or at least that's their predominant things. Wouldn't mind tracking those down and playing them again. Parents deserve Pokemon Yellow when you were about 8. Nice. Nice. Also, look! Some bots. Let's block them, shall we? Since we're sitting here doing nothing, quite literally. I need to get that onto a different... Oh, that was weird. It, like, removed chat. See if I can refresh it and get rid of those. If not, then oh well. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Hello, Mr. Bots. Don't mind me. Just casually banning. I mean, if it had to pick any time to do that, I guess while we're sitting here waiting would have been not too bad of a time. Oh, and I'm getting the things did it. The bots did it. They've slowed me down. Now I'm getting the lag spikes. I doubt it's these, but I'll go ahead and close these tabs anyway. Of all the things to initiate the lag spikes, the bots, they've done it to me. And my computer's not feeling warm, so I don't think it's that. It could just be people are online, because it is 11:30 here, and so a lot of people take their breaks from 11:30 to 12:30 in this town, rather than noon to 1. And so it could just be a bunch of people are hopping online right now. I don't think that's what it is, question mark, but it could be. Potentially. That would be kind of funny if it was the bots that triggered that, though. I'll refresh it again, and yeah, no, it's already doing it. It's already getting choppy. Awesome. Or at least it is for me. I'm like checking the sides, the back. They may be gone, but they didn't appreciate me banning them, because it was like the minute that I started banning them, it was like, nope, you're dead. Those accursed bots. I'll have their heads, I will. Every last one of them, I'll have their heads. Yeah, I think it might be because people are around. Namely, it's my neighbors. I can hear them. You know that your neighbors have their TV on really loudly when you can hear their TV, and then the the thunderstorm warning thing goes off that makes the really loud beeping noise, and that is quieter than their TV, because normally that is like THX preview loud, and it was like, oh, I could barely hear that. Well, what to do from here? I'm gonna keep doing the whole like strategy of using the flint to switch it back to nighttime until I run out of flint. While I have that going on, however, if it does get a blood moon, I'll just pause. And I'll go ahead and pause right here. Well, now I'll go ahead and keep it running. But in the meantime, I'm gonna close down stream one more time. Well, do I want to do that? Yeah, because they're not gonna shut up. There's no way. A bomb could go off in their house and they wouldn't do it. Unfortunately, they're the type